스물네. 스물네. 아이고, 거슬러. Test. Hello. Louder. Hello.
We can hear
Perfect.
you.
In the Casket of Blessing, the Red Book, page 18.
Recording in progress.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes?
Yes.
Dorje lombe sanje ben dizom jola janze lo chozom dembe shinjo la nime yenge jabzo je ngenjuro yenge nam dambe chemba shezo se nyendo chuo jembe nge ngenje male shambarange chojo korsam dambe je maja jela je ran dambe Simgen do deshe wanju simgen la gyoba simchen lembe lo tseram dambe. De janju chenmo ngobo sa shi benjen ju shen mendon dambe ra lin shen gente jempo. Sanje shindo menden barwa yen zhongbe nam. Jebara sho idam guru rena man Kamneraya daya mi semje namge samba da loye jenda wara chejon tenmoin chegi kolo kordo so.
Yeah, sure.
Disum Sanje Tamji Jungo, Ridan Chingur Jamsi Chada. Karin Sumba Mebete Jen, Jessen Bangor Lamatambe Jabjibeman to Timamba, Bove Rapto to Cube Chasash. Chabs Joe Jenji Labaran Zedo Sol. But I killed Jamsi Jesson, Remetu Betana Tazamze, Dendro Membe Semju Kwajaji. Jime Chinzi was Sorwa and the so. I am so
Now, we're giving you.
My translator Sean told me not to start conversation with the soul. Always comes up. It's kind of Indian habit, I think. Mindfulness. So very happy to be here today in this beautiful place. And so Rinpoche told me to give a kind of transmission or some kind of rough commentary on this wonderful aspiration prayer by Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo. And I received this teaching intensively from Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo in France a long time ago. Since then, I always try to read this supplication prayer. I can't say I practice, but I make an aspiration. Which I think is good auspicious to give a kind of commentary in this short aspiration prayer. You guys have received teaching from Sangha Rinpoche, so I don't think there's much I can, or there's more I can add to what Rinpoche has been teaching. Like I mentioned before, he was the very diligent student of Khyentse Rinpoche. I was the lazy one. So he learned much more than what I did. But even though, just to make a spiritual connection, that he asked me to say a few words on this practice. So I have Lama Sean here to help me translate in case I'll try with my little English. Most of my English I learned from Hollywood movies, so there's not much useful Dharma words in the language I speak. So it'll better to have a translator. And the second thing is, if I say anything wrong, I can blame the translator. So please, with the proper attitude, listen to the teaching. For the sake of all mother sentient beings, we receive these teachings. Whenever Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo gave teaching, even it's a very short one, that he always goes on and on about the setting our mindset, proper attitude. And when we were young, we hear that so many times. Sometimes we feel a little bit bored. Oh, we heard this already. Let's get to the main point. But anyway, I think I realize now it's most important is to set our goal, whether you receive teaching or whether you practice, setting our mindset for the sake of all sentient beings, then we cannot not go wrong. If we miss that point, then sometime, even though look like we are doing serious practice, then maybe there's chances of off the track. So therefore, it's always very important, whether we do short practice or receive teaching or any kind of engage in Dharma activity. I think it's very important to set the goal, have a proper attitude for the sake of all sentient beings, that we listen to the Dharma or we practice the Dharma or anything that related with in our spiritual path. Siji yunde kunji jungne tengsho gibe sharande to teba sumju loju tawa jizun lamen chinju lobshes. Can you read that in English, Sean?
I love the prayer. Ambrosia for the mind. A prayer of the 7 points of mind training. Homage. I bow down before the spiritual guise of the supreme vehicle, the source of all that is positive in samsara and nirvana. May the precious masters grant their blessings so that my mind is purified through the 3 kinds of faith.
Whether you practice Shavakayana or Mahayana, Vajrayana, I think we have to somehow have to be put into the framework of the Four Noble Truths, the first Buddha's teaching, the understanding of the suffering of the samsara. And then when we become Buddhists, like I think Himalayan Tibetans, we are born in kind of Buddhist family, Buddhist background, so somehow we just roll into it. But maybe some of you in the West, you are not really from the Buddhist background, but somehow you are inspired or get inspired by the teaching that you hear. Or sometimes maybe you get into practicing Buddhism because you are interested or you love the culture or tradition. Or sometimes people go through some difficulty in their life, especially related with the mind. Then they seek for some kind of refuge and try to find way to help. So nonetheless, whatever the reason we sort of connect with the spiritual path, I think we have to be a genuine practitioner, to really seriously practice. We must have, I think, genuine sense of renunciation, feeling of renunciation. And that's, I think, simply if you think that we all look for some kind of happiness, nobody's looking for suffering. Nobody's waking up in the morning saying that, oh, I wish I'll be not happy today. Like the Indian man. He said, everybody wishes to be happy when you get up in the morning. So I think it's important to understand the samsaric world. We all seek for happiness, looking in different kind of ways, trying to become richer, trying to become more famous. So all those things, we can see that the richest man is not necessarily the happiest person. The most powerful person is not necessarily the happiest person. So therefore, so and so we can think, see that that's not way to achieve the happiness. And then the second teaching of Buddha, what causes the suffering? due to negative emotions, desire, hatred, anger, jealousy. And due to these negative emotions, then we accumulate negative karmic or negative karmic deeds. So nobody's really like happy when you're so angry. Nobody's really happy when you're jealous. So those are all very kind of understandable. I think one thing about Buddha's teaching is taught in very much in Ranjing thought, naturally, not talking about some kind of another entity that controlling us, but he talks on based on reality. I think we can say based on reality. I think Four Noble Truths, basically, especially the suffering of the samsaric and the cause of the suffering, I think anybody can agree on that, no matter what background you are, whether you're spiritual believer or non-believer. So then, there's a possibility of getting rid of these negative emotions because we are not inherent, right? We are not inherent in our being. Like example, like anger is temperamental. Temporary. It comes and goes. We don't get angry for a whole week. Sometimes we get angry, sometimes we get angry disappears. So it's not really in the nature of our mind. So this is temporary. So therefore, there's a possibility of getting rid of it. So that is the cessation, is by getting rid of all the negative emotions. And then we will achieve the ultimate happiness, enlightenment, Buddhahood. So now how to achieve that enlightenment, Buddhahood, or enlightenment or awakening, free from these negative emotions, which are the cause of the suffering. Then there's a path, the teaching of Buddha. His Holiness Dalai Lama quite often uses Buddhist science, Buddhist view, and Buddhist practice. Buddhist science is like a research. The suffering of the samsara and cause of the suffering. So these two are Buddhist science, like a research. Then Buddhist view has a possibility of getting rid of this suffering by using methods. So that is kind of Buddhist view. Then the third one comes Buddhist practice. So Buddhist science, Buddhist view, Buddhist practice. So Four Noble Truths, sometimes His Holiness Dalai Lama described like that. So when it comes to Buddhist path, then there are like so many different teachings. Mainly, I think we can divide into three: the Shavakayana and Mahayana and Vajrayana. And then in Shavakayana, I think by using antidote for each of these negative emotions has an antidote. By increasing the opposite, example, instead of anger, if you generate patience, loving kindness, then there is naturally, there's a less space for anger. You cannot have the same time, same moment, love and hate together. So by using each of these negative emotions as antidote. So by increasing these antidotes, then there's a less negative emotions. So this is mainly, I think, practice in Shavakayana. And then Mahayana, we are using the negative emotions, Jurva, transforming them. So that is the main teaching here today, based on Mahayana kind of approach. And then we have the final one is Vajrayana. So I think you have been practicing this morning, the Vajrayana practice. So in order to do Vajrayana practice, I think we must have all the other two, the first essence of the Shabakayana is sense of renunciation, wanting to be free from the suffering of samsara. And then on top of that, then we have to have Mahayana attitude, not for oneself, but for the sake of all sentient beings. Then on top of that, then we do the Vajrayana practice. So since we are here focusing on this teaching, which is more on the developing bodhicitta mind, first, the four words is the whole, actually, the teaching is like making aspiration, but the first four words, it is to making kind of making supplication to a teacher. So teacher here, of course, again, when you talk about the teacher, there are so many different layers or different teacher, but I think basically teacher is someone who inspire you in the path. Someone who put in practice, who has first knowledge, and then that person has put into the practice, then certain realization of understanding or guiding you in the path. So that is, I think, teacher. That in order to practice, we have to rely upon an authentic teacher. So in the scriptures, there are so many different descriptions, so many detailed descriptions to find authentic teacher. And then when you talk about authentic teacher, in our case, like Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo, that one who has been so many years in retreat. Before that, he met so many teachers, received so many teachings. He has more than 50 different teachers. And then himself put in practice for more than 20 years. Then after his, as per his teacher's kind of request or instruction, then he continuously, non-stop teaching. Since Khyentse Rinpoche belongs to Rimé master, non-sectarian, so he took responsibility of preserving all the major tradition of Tibetan Buddhist tradition, and especially in Nyingma lineage, Rinpoche really emphasized on protecting and saving and encouraging people to continue, like in Rinpoche's case, Rinpoche yesterday mentioned that Rinpoche insists that continue on Namchak tradition. So likewise, there are so many. In fact, Khyentse Rinpoche, when he was alive, he would, if you ask him, what practice should I do? Rinpoche would never give you his own dharma or his own kind of treasure teachings. He would always emphasize on whichever is like about to lose or about to disappear. So he will always emphasize on that. So like that, he was worried about the preserving of all the major schools of Tibetan Buddhist tradition, and especially in Nyingma tradition. So I can see now that because of the kindness of Khyentse Rinpoche, so many different traditions are still very much alive. One example here, Namchak tradition, also Rinpoche's inspiration, Rola, like that. So that is what we call the holder of the Rimé tradition. So this is one example. So it's very important, I think, rely upon the real authentic master teacher. Then how to rely upon? Then Tepa Sum. The first is the sincere Deviteva.
Conviction
or desirous, wishing.
So how to rely with the teacher is the three kind of faith or three trust. Right? Once you find the authentic teacher, then I think, especially in Vajrayana path, we have to completely trust. Example, we 100% trust our life with the helicopter pilot. If he was like half drunk or walking a little bit crazy, I wouldn't get on that plane. So basically trust, I think. Jamyang Khyentse
The preliminary is the basis for practice. May the precious masters grant their blessings so that I may train thoroughly in the preliminaries, recognizing how hard it is to gain the freedoms and advantages and how easily they are lost, so that I strive always to act in accordance with the laws of karma, adopting wholesome deeds and avoiding what is harmful, and develop genuine renunciation for samsara.
So once we have a genuine kind of sense of renunciation, wanting to be free from the samsaric world, genuine kind of. So to get this genuine renunciation feeling, the more you look into the samsaric world, the more you understand the defaults of the samsaric world, then we naturally get a genuine sense of what you call renunciation feeling. So I sometimes compare with a roadside restaurant in India. When you feel very hungry, you're traveling long journey and you feel hungry, and then you see all this delicious curry lay out outside of the road. You come out of the bus, and then the smell is so tempting. You really can't resist, your mouth watering. And then you go backside, and you see the kitchen next to the toilet, open toilet, and the flies going back and forth. And then the guy who makes the chapati with sweating, dripping into chapati. And then right away, that appetite is gone. Without much effort. So that kind of genuine kind of renunciation feeling then is not so difficult to really engage in practice. Otherwise, if you don't see the background, the kitchen, or the samsaric kind of pleasure, then it's sometimes difficult for us to sort of engage ourselves fully into practice because we haven't seen the kitchen yet. So then once we get that kind of genuine kind of understanding of the samsaric world, then I think example like Buddha, he had all the pleasure and comfort of the prince, yet he left everything and went into achieve something more important, greater than the worldly kind of pleasure. Similar with Jamyang Khyentse Rinpoche's case, he was born in noble family. He had every kind of comfort that in Tibet, whatever exists that time. But yet he left everything and spent his time with his teacher in the mountains. So therefore, once we understand, then we know practicing Dharma is something greater cause. So this kind of, in order to get that, then there are teachings, Tanjo Nyepa Kawa, precious human life. Precious human life, there are so many different teachings in the Khyentse Shalom, very, very detailed. And I think if we put together, I think it is to understand the potential we have in this human life. The potential we are so much, compared to other mammoth, sentient beings or animals, mammoth, our brain is much more intelligent and use of that intelligence to achieve something greater. And in the teachings, it says human realm is the perfect condition to practice the Dharma. Yes, I think maybe dolphins have bigger brains, but it will be difficult to practice Ngondro as a dolphin, to do a postation or whatever. You don't have a big head. You can't even do thumb namaste. Sorry to make some jokes. So I think human humans' perfect condition to practice the Ngondro, practice the Dharma. And then I think we have to make use of this intelligence. If we just born, live, eat, die, then we are not so much different from the other animals. So therefore, I think finding the right path, like Lama said, try to find the meaning of life, meaning in giving meaning to life, right? So that is, I think, basically what precious human life, Tanjunya Bhakava, is talking about. Then the second thing is, once we know that we have this potential, then everything is changing, everything is moving so fast, impermanence, moment to moment. If you think back in our life, some of us in 50s, 60s, what really we did that we can think that I did something, right? We have traveled a lot, we have talked a lot, we have done so many things, but what really we did that gives some kind of meaning to one's life. If you have done 3-year retreat or something, then there is something. Otherwise, I think we can say 90%, I can more or less say 90% of our life, we don't even remember. It's like a dream, not even a dream, it's all gone, right? So the time is moving so fast. Every moment is getting closer to the holiday that we are all supposed to take, the death. In fact, I saw some article in one of the magazine. It says that it's not a Buddhist or religious magazine, it's just magazine. They said that people make so much arrangement for holiday, next year holiday. You start booking hotel, you start making, booking air tickets, research about the place where you're supposed to visit. But we never make an arrangement for that everlasting holiday that we're not going to come back. So I think it's worthwhile to put some effort into making some arrangement for this, our upcoming death. So that is what we call the second impermanence, law of impermanence. And then when we go beyond that, then it depends on how we lived our life. It's in the teachings, they say, what was your past, if you want to know what was your past life, see what's your situation now. And if you want to know what's going to be next life, then see your action now. Right? So therefore, when we go, then it depends on how we live our life and depends on our action, and that is going to lead us. So therefore, we have to be very careful and diligent. Every kind of day, every moment we have a choice. Do the right thing or the wrong thing. So being mindfulness and always trying to do the right thing, then we'll end up bring the good result. So that is what we call law of the cause and effect, which is again, I think, very much based on reality. The good karma and bad karma is not someone says this is bad and because of that is bad. Someone says this is good because of that is not like that. It totally depends on mainly our intention. With a positive intention, we do some action that will help, brings kind of happiness or good to others. That is positive karma. With a bad intention, do some kind of action that will harm the others. That brings bad karma. So this is a very kind of reality, understandable law of the karma. So intention is more important. Like I'm sure there's teachings in the Gonzalo Michelon, example of the tsatsa and the shoes. I'm sure you already heard those teachings. So with all these four thoughts or four
Four thoughts that turn the mind to the
Four thoughts turn our mind into Dharma. So this is, I think, is very important. Even we do Ngondro practice, of course, accumulation is there, but the four thoughts is, I think, is very important. This is the main kind of part of the Ngondro, like Khyentse Rinpoche used to say. So once we have these four thoughts really like into ourselves, really like, and then I think that's why it's called the foundation. If you want to build a big building, you must have a good foundation. So if you have this four thoughts in your mind, then I think the other practice becomes more stable. Zungzin deme ingsu jangde, dajen de do tonen samo chanchu semni tato gomba, jezun lami chinju lobshe.
The second verse reads, "May the precious masters grant their blessings, so that I may always cultivate the two aspects of bodhicitta, purifying my dualistic perceptions, which have no basis in reality, into all-pervading space, and practicing the profound exchange of my own happiness for others' suffering."
So now for the main practice, main part of bodhicitta practice, the first, I think, here a little bit emphasize on the absolute bodhicitta. So I think reason is that some teachings, I think, first they focus on the relative bodhicitta and then leads to absolute bodhicitta. So this particular tradition of the 7-point mind training, it focuses on the absolute bodhicitta. So all phenomena, all perception that using maybe some Madhyamika idea that understanding everything, all phenomena is empty. Example, the many examples given, like if we call a table, then we think it's a table. Then we take out the four legs and we take out different parts. Then table doesn't exist. So likewise, we go deeper and deeper into it. Then at the end, there's nothing but sawdust. And like that, there's so many different ways of analytical meditation to understand the emptiness. Even house, whatever, if you go look deeper and deeper into it, you will not find some kind of solid that what we have labeled goes into the then same thing with analyzing your mind. Also past, present, future thoughts. The past is gone. The future is not born yet, and present. So like that, by using all these kind of methods, different methods, then to understand the absolute kind of emptiness. I think the reason why they put the absolute bodhicitta first is that the more you understand emptiness, the more you understand possibility. So that you feel stronger compassion towards those who do not understand the emptiness. And because of that, they, how do you say, caught into the samsaric world. So therefore, I think the understanding of emptiness is very important. So of course, we have to understand two truths, absolute truth and relative truth. So these two truths we have to understand. So the more you understand this possibility, absolute truth, then relative truth, relative compassion increases. Example, if some guy is drowning in the ocean, and then you see that person is helpless. So trying to swim, but it's not able to come out of the ocean. Then there's nothing you can do, and you just feel sorry. It's pity. I wish that person be saved, but there's nothing we can do. But then if you see a island just behind him, and then if he just turn back, then he will be saved. Then you see a possibility. Then you feel stronger kind of urge. Oh, I wish if he just turn his face that way, he will be saved. So that stronger compassion is much stronger. So likewise, I think the more you understand the emptiness aspect, then more you feel compassion. Some people says, if everything is emptiness, then why we need compassion? I think that's misunderstood. The more you understand compassion, I think, then the more you see more you understand emptiness, then more you see there's possibility to be saved. So therefore, first we have the absolute bodhicitta, and also we have some kind of, with this resting in, with after analytical meditation, understanding some kind of understanding of the emptiness, then resting on that, also help us to calm our mind in order to develop the relative bodhicitta. Because our mind is so kind of disturbed so much. So then once your mind is so disturbed, you cannot really focus well. And especially these days, so many things happening in the world. So our mind is even more disturbed. Like when I visited Tibet, Mount Kailash area, it was so quiet, so peaceful. And naturally you feel kind of calmness there. So now when you come out of that scenario and we come into this so-called developed world, then people have more kind of disturbance in the mind. Also reason for our masters in Tibet there became such, I feel the reason why our masters from Tibet have achieved such realization is because in Tibet there's not much distraction. In fact, there's nothing to do there. And if you don't practice, you will feel bored. Oh, I feel so bored, I better go and do practice. So here is opposite in this modern world. Here, even though here is quite peaceful, but almost like Tibet. So therefore, I think it really helps to have some calm abiding experience. And some of my friend Rinpoches that teaching in the West, they say it's very important for the people who begin practice in the West to have some understanding of karma mind, because there's so much distraction, so much thing. So I think that also, when you have kind of a little bit calmness in your mind with meditating on the absolute bodhicitta, then it gives kind of good ground to develop our relative bodhicitta. Then to develop this relative bodhicitta, we use some kind of object or person in front of oneself. Then we sort of bring in all the suffering and negative karmic deeds into ourselves with imagination, bring it into ourselves, and with that also with joy, and then you give out all your happiness and all your virtuous deeds that you have accumulated. So that is a way to kind of train our mind. And I think we can increase this slowly. First with someone you love, someone you care. It'll be easier, much easier to practice. Wishing that person to be happy, wishing that person to be free from all the sufferings. And then gradually we increase to people who we don't know. Then gradually we increase to that especially, I think, when you get a little bit used to it, then we can more or less focus on if you have someone who makes trouble to you. I think in many cases, your neighbor, maybe. And if you have a problem with your neighbor, or if you have someone who disturbs you. Once His Holiness Dalai Lama, I remember, someone asked question, how can I understand, or how can I know whether my practice is going well or not? And then His Holiness said that, imagine someone you don't like in front of yourself, and then try to generate your loving kindness. And if you can do well, that means your practice is going well. And if you're not doing very well, then your practice is not going well. So I think we have to work, like in mind training, always they says that whichever the negative emotions or whichever is really bothering us more, then we have to focus, use all the different methods to destroy that. Destroy means like if there's someone who really like you hate, and then you have to visualize that person and then try to generate loving kindness. And if that's a difficult, then that's the point where you really have to train your mind. Then we also use the breath. This is kind of natural flow. So when you breathe out, just imagine. I think it's very easy. You don't need any kind of implements there. You just sit and breathe out. Just by breathing out, giving all the positive, all the virtuous deeds that you have accumulated. And then when you breathe in, you just breathe in all the suffering or the pain of the beings, bringing into yourself. So that's, I think, training our mind.
May the precious masters grant their blessings so that whatever adversity and sufferings may arise, I see them as the wiles of this demon, ego clinging, and transform them into the path towards awakening.
So whatever a difficulty in one's life, problem in one's life, then we be able to practice. So this is the I think is very important, because the more you practice, the more you should be able to handle the difficulties, situations, circumstances in your life. So understanding everything is the self-cherishing, Danzin. In the Madhyamika, first we cling to I, oneself, then we cling to mind. So we circle in the samsaric world. So this I, again, I don't think we need a very deep philosophical study to understand that. We say my clothes, you don't say I clothes. We say my hand, you don't say I hand. You don't say I the hand, you say my hand. So hand is not you. You are owner of the hand. So then who is this owner? Usually we say it's the mind, right? And we don't say I mind. We say my mind. Be different between me and the mind. So who is this behind your mind? The name is given to you when you are born. In fact, you are born with no identity. UFO. I mean, unidentified crying object. Unidentified crying object. Right?
Yes.
So the name is given to you, and then if you really like simple kind of little analytic, there's no really, don't need to be really deep philosophical understanding. So because of I, then we have mind, then this and that. Except for the iPhone, we have the iPhone. I quite often say that iPhone is selling very well because there's I on it. Everybody loves I. So I think a simple meditating, simple kind of analytic meditation. So because of the I, then everything is there. All the problems. So with understanding that, with understanding this I, there's so many examples that I give one example, like beautiful, walking by the shop, and there's a beautiful Chinese vase in the display showroom display. And while you're walking in front of the shop, and someone's cleaning the window, and somehow that person pushed the vase and breaks. So you see the scenario of the breaking. So you say, such a pity, it's a beautiful vase. That much. Now the same scenario, the vase is given to you, or you bought it, was very expensive. Then somebody push over and breaks. It's the same vase, same scenario. One with I, one without the I. One with the label I, oh, it's catastrophic. One without the label I, oh, it's pity. So I think everything, as long as we have this label I on anything, then it becomes more serious. I don't know what Rinpoche is thinking. He's testing me actually. So like that. So whatever circumstances come, and try to see it is it is the default of this self clinging to the I. Samjor tabe so sa dibjong balam tamje top nga dembe. Seji nyamne nimbo do jizin lame chilop shings.
May the precious masters grant their blessings so that I might focus upon the essence of the practice throughout my life and always apply the 5 strengths of pure thought and pure deed, gathering merit, purifying obscurations, and making prayers of aspiration.
I think I can share a secret with you. Actually, I'm very afraid of flying. When I saw the program, this is flying by helicopter, I said, oh, that's why I insist to go back in the car. But no, it was good for me. It was good for me. Once I was going in a mountain in Switzerland, somewhere in the gondola. Gondola, they call it, elevator. But that's still stick to the ropes. And there was quite strong wind, and the gondola was shaking. And there's a French guy who does some practice. He learns some teaching. He learned some Buddhist teaching. He didn't speak very good English. So I told him, I'm so scared. It's so high and it's shaking. And he said, "Isn't this an illusion?" So I said, theoretically, yes. You know, theoretically, all this, yes, but when you put into practice, a little bit difficult. So today I got a good opportunity to, to meditate upon the illusion. But I was okay, not too bad. Especially, I think I developed this kind of fear of height after the earthquake in Nepal. Yes. But anyway, that was a comfortable ride. It was good, but good experience. Yeah. So how to implement this teaching in one's kind of as a part of daily life, or carry on with this this practice? Then there's it was told that 5 powers, Pembi top. So after receiving this kind of bodhicitta teaching, or when you really want to practice, put into your kind of daily life practice, then first method is called Pembi top. Means, how do you say Pembi top? Pembi, yeah, okay. Pembi top, yes, benefit. Pembi top, then Kombi top, then Kabo Sabinji top, Sunjimbi top, Melamji top. It's not in the main text. It says top G, top Ngarben. Top Ngar, the one. Top Nga. Top Nga tuwe. Top Nga. I sometimes forget the things I remembered, and I always blame for the COVID. Because after COVID, I start forgetting something. Oh, okay. Habit of that is, yes. For in order to how much benefit, I think, to understand how much benefit it is. So by thinking on that, then you, I think, get encouraged to practice Pembitop. Then the second one is Gombitop, familiarization. Gombitop. Actually, I think meditation, Gom in Tibetan means familiarization. So once you become very familiar, and then any circumstances, it will not kind of distract you. Quite often in the Lojong teachings, it mentions that if you are such a good horse rider, no matter how much the horse jumps, you will not fall off from the horse. So sometimes circumstances comes, I think we should prepare, be happy to have the circumstances so that you can see whether you can practice the mind training or not. So if you're quite ready for any circumstances, then it becomes kombitop, become very familiarization. Then third is karbosabenjitop, putting a seed into oneself. So when you practice the Lojong or mind training practice, it should be your main kind of thing. So even you go to temple and make aspiration, then aspiration should be that may I, the bodhicitta born in my heart. Even you do some accumulation, circumambulation, then always make aspiration saying that may the bodhicitta born in my heart. So that is kapasabenjitop, like putting a seed of bodhicitta. And the fourth one is sunjimbitop, regret. Sinjimba, huh? Regret, fed up, fed up of the without bodhicitta mind, huh? Sinjimba. All the defaults before we could, before we practice bodhicitta, then we are sort of caught into the samsaric world, then we suffer so much. So that therefore, the default of the not understanding or not able to practice the bodhicitta mind. Then Melam Jitop, making aspiration always again and again, saying that may the bodhicitta born in our mind or heart, whatever you want to call it, like the common one we usually do, Chanchu Semcho Rinpoche, Mache Padam Jejuji, Jeba Nyamba Mebayang, Kone Kone Pash. So making aspiration. So these are the 5 kind of methods so that we can carry on the practice of bodhicitta into our daily, how to carry on the bodhicitta practice into our daily life. Stop ma. Tini chögün danzen nyembu chashin. Teaching tensh injikel. Chögün danzen nyembu chashin rangse want of yidin dingji garjen tamje lamdo longwa jejun lamin chinchilopsh.
Measure of mind training. May the precious masters grant their blessings so that with joyful self-assurance and freedom of mind, I may bring all adverse circumstances onto the path and everything may become a remedy to ego clinging.
So once we know that all the troublemaker, all the problem is due to our self-cherishing or ego clinging, then yi de dengji means we have some kind of confidence that whatever difficulty arises in our life, then we can use that as an using to overcome or antidote of the self-cherishing or ego clinging. Then we're sort of ready to accept any difficulties in our life. So the more practice you do, you become more kind of, the more practice we do, there should be less complaints in the life, whatever situation. Because every circumstances arise, then we can use that as a challenge to practice our bodhicitta. So that way there is no kind of fear in the life, because whatever circumstances, difficulties that we face, then we're always ready to use that bodhicitta practice. So all the difficulty circumstances, use it in the path. Example, we get a strong kind of anger. Then first recognize, okay, now I got this anger. Then understand this anger is due to anger, then we get in a lot of trouble. Due to anger, we accumulate a lot of negative karmic deeds. So therefore, I'm going to use this anger, first recognize the anger, use this anger to free the anger of all sentient beings. So I will liberate all this anger. So similarly, any negative emotions arise, I think the first thing is to recognize them. So I often say that anger is, sometimes it has more effect and more kind of damaging, but it is more easy to identify. Because when you get strong anger, then you can feel it. The blood sort of shoots up. And especially if you're white, you become red. If you're dark, maybe you don't really see so much. Anyway, that's a joke. And other negative emotions, I think something more subtle, like jealousy, can be very, very subtle. We don't know when it's coming. And because of this kind of subtleness, we cannot identify. And when we cannot identify, then we cannot use antidote. Just like sickness. Certain sickness are very, very, like some of the cancer sickness, it's difficult to see that it's there. And by the time then you feel like it's already late. So similar, I think jealousy comes very, very subtle. You don't really feel. And then it sort of triggers many other emotions. And like a pride also another thing. That sometimes we can be very proud, thinking that I'm not proud, so therefore I'm so good. I'm such a good practitioner because I'm not proud. So, so these negative emotions are really, really tricky. So there's subtle ones. I think we have to watch out. And once we identify them, then there's so many teachings how to handle them. This is all the teaching Buddha says, Rangi semni yongsu dul dini sanji tenpayin. So most important is that if we can utilize them, then I think the practice goes well. Ngarchen tamchi lamdo longa jizun lami chinjil of shakes. Kelang tunden suche tanda chori meba ngonzen chungo. Lojong tamzi sojin songa jizun lami chinjil of shakes.
May the precious masters grant their blessings so that I might keep my promises without hypocrisy and always remain impartial and free from obstination, guarding the Lojong commitments as I do my very life.
And this practice is so beautiful, so helpful, even though, of course, there are many kind of higher Maha Anuati teachings, very higher tantric teachings, which is, of course, very precious and very important. But I think basic, if you don't have bodhicitta mind, then rest is becoming superficial, kind of. So therefore, I think it's easy to practice and very useful in our day-to-day life. So without sulche tang tal, chori meba ngonsen chungo, lojong tamse soji songa, jizunami chinjil. No matter what, I will never let go of this bodhicitta mind. So in order to do that, then we make firm kind of commitment, saying that I will keep my bodhicitta mind. So there also in the mind training detail, more mind training detail, there's a way to also implement into our day-to-day. We make kind of commitment saying that for 1 week, I'm going to practice this diligently. Then after 1 week, that's okay. I'm going to do next week. I'm going to do next week. So that slowly, then we sort of get used to doing that. And sometimes I think I feel that in sometime in the modern world, bodhicitta means like let everybody take advantage of me. So that's maybe misconception. I think maybe you should check with the Rinpoches and all that. We have right to protect ourselves, but yet we should not have a hate against others. So I was joking with my Christian friends, saying, Christians, you say, if someone slaps you on the right cheek, you give the left cheek. And I said, we Buddhists will hold the hands. Because if you let that guy beat up, then he'll keep on beating up everybody. So that guy will get in trouble. So better hold his hand and teach him a lesson. So I think that without holding, of course, we have negative emotions will come. Even practitioner, I've seen some of the practitioner, they have some kind of negative emotions arise. They're not become vegetables, like after a few years retreat. But I think the difference is that practitioner should not hold on to it. It comes and let it go, like the bird has no trace. And if you keep on holding it, then you're no practitioner. So practitioner might have some anger, but they don't hold, just let go. Any desire will come and let go without holding into. Then that's how we sort of get caught into the so-called samsaric world. So therefore, I think we always make a kind of commitment, firm commitment, saying that I will hold bodhicitta mind without bias. That's also, I think, very important, without bias. without bias and without kind of limit, without limit. Also, I know I have a friend who has been a student and received teachings. At one point, he got in trouble, and he did something naughty, and he got in trouble, and he was put in the jail. And he came out and he was so angry with the jailer. And I said, yeah, but you have been received so many teachings. What about your bodhicitta mind? What about your compassion? He said, they are beyond bodhicitta and compassion. So rude, he said. So there is no such thing as beyond bodhicitta and compassion. In fact, I know there's one Tibetan man. I mean, I heard from His Holiness Dalai Lama's teaching. He met one of the recently arrived Tibetans, and this guy sort of sat in front of His Holiness, and he said, I was put in the jail. I was tortured so much, and I was so afraid. And His Holiness said, are you so afraid that you will die? He said, no, I will lose my bodhicitta mind. Yes, so no matter what, we have to firm commitment that never let go of the bodhicitta mind. Without without showing off, low profile, remaining in low profile. I think this is also very important in our modern kind of living style, modern world, especially if you're practicing Jai or something and you're living in a flat. You don't want to wake up the neighbors by blowing the trumpet at night. I think low profile is very important. You know, we have a responsible being a Buddhist. If you're a Buddhist, we are responsible being a good Buddhist. And we don't want people saying that, oh, those Buddhists are so noisy. In the middle of the night, they ring bell and trumpets and all that. So we are responsible to sort of show a good example of a good human being, which is the base of all the kind of qualities to develop basic human goodness. And on top, once we have basic human goodness, then on top of that, then we can develop bodhicitta and loving kindness, all that. Without the basic human goodness, it's difficult to develop bodhicitta. We can be a very, very good doctor. Of course, good human being, good doctor is best. But you can be a very, very good surgeon, but not so good human being. You can be a very good carpenter, not so good human being. But you can't be a good practitioner, a bad human being. So I think base is basic human goodness. And on top of that, then try to develop bodhicitta, mindfulness, and with low profile keeping. So here, that's, I think, what it meant. Dorna chanchu semni pewe labjatam de sujin loba. Sendir tejo zebataba jizunlamin chinjilopshi.
May the precious masters grant their blessings so that I may genuinely follow all the precepts for increasing the two aspects of bodhicitta and within this lifetime gain the realization of the supreme vehicle.
So this is making aspiration to the, actually it's all making aspiration to the your teacher. No matter what, may I, the two bodhicittas may increase. May I be able to practice bodhicitta mind, with genuinely, then may I achieve, may I achieve, how do you say that?
Gain the realization of the supreme vehicle.
The
dedication reads, through the merit of this heartfelt aspiration to practice the 7 points of mind training, the heart essence of the incomparable Jo Atisha and his heirs, may all beings attain the level of perfect awakening.
So this is aspiration that we always make, that may the, because Buddha showed the path, right? Buddha showed the path. And we have to follow the path. So therefore, when we make aspiration, that we always say that may I be able to follow the path and become like you. become like you. May all the beings we achieve the bodhicitta mind. CGN kunjun tinjugyo tebasum loju tawa jizen la mechin tanjun ya de landed land so Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo jizen la mechin sunzen de yin sun tajun dun chanju sen lam no jizen la mechin jengyen do anju danzu kum jizen jizen la mechin jilo samju ta be so sa be menon de tong fit ne ni wo jizen la mechin jilo chögin danzen ni bo cha cha danzen wa de ga jizen jizen la mechin cha zu shu no lo jong danzen so yo so jizen la mechin do na chanju sen be la ja dan so jilo cender tejoz bataba jizun la menje jilop yame cho ya su toje tenjin de ngen ni ne memele jendun rogun janjo tobara ji I I like to share this some experience from the experiment if you have time just a few minutes. Some people seems to like this experiment we did. I came to with mature regard came to Wisconsin. No, one of the science lab to study, and I'm sure now they have developed so much furthermore. But that was quite interesting for me. They said that everybody has a kind of happy or happy or not so happy. Everybody has their own kind of baseline. So some people naturally kind of see the positive side. Even you go to a fancy restaurant, they say, oh, it's cool, it's nice. Some people, no matter where you go, they always say, oh, it's not nice, right? So everybody has their own kind of baseline. So they did some kind of experiment that people, when they win a lottery ticket, that kind of the happiness, what do you call that thing? Marker shoots up very high. And within 6 months, it comes down to the baseline, average around 6 months. Love at first sight, boy and girl love, shoots up, and within 6 months, it comes back to the baseline. In fact, sometime after marriage, it goes below the baseline. But anyway, everybody has a baseline. They said by practicing bodhicitta mind, they tried with some few people who practice the bodhicitta mind. The baseline goes up. There is up and down, always, of course, but the baseline, like a stock market, baseline goes up. And also the interesting study in America, the consumer rate is going up. The people's satisfaction rate is going down. It's cross. So it really shows that, the more kind of consumer doesn't necessarily brings us kind of happiness or satisfaction. Yes. So therefore, this science research is quite interesting. I'm sure now that's when I went is 1996, after Rinpoche passed away in 96. So now they keep on doing that research, and there's sort of more and more findings that using this Buddha's teaching and technique that really helps people to become happier, become more calm and positive. So I think this center is all about that, isn't it? Thank you very much. So I'll dedicate this evening. Sonam di tamje ziwa on Chagana Balon Sivu.
Jambala Power, Jidra Kimbo, Don Kundo, Zambe, de Ande, Gente, Teta, Kungin. Gyawa Dida Tamje Rabdo, Ngo Desum Shimbe, Jalwa Tamje, Ngowa, Ganla, Chodo, Ngamba, Den Dangin, Gavin. Sambo, Jiji Rabdo, Ngowa, Gi.
Recording stopped.
Jitsuma, did she go this way? Jitsuma? Excuse me. Excuse me. You have to know what's right. Oh, yeah.
Thank you everyone for attending. We'll be sending a follow-up email with the recording. Thank you all. Goodbye.
In the presence of His Holiness Shechen Rabjam Rinpoche, the Lord of the entire Nyingma tradition, the refuge and support of all beings, our Supreme Master Gojin Choktrul Sangha Tenzin Rinpoche, learned Khenpo's Lopin's teachers, the head of Namchak Foundation, Lama Tsomo, the staffs, and the guests from all around the places. I, Namchak Vajra Master, Choki Lodre, with the Taiwan and Hong Kong centers, would like to mention that the whole Nyingma lineage, and specifically the treasure revealer Sasum Lingpa's Namchak lineage, is radiating like sun in places of all the 10 directions because of the benevolence of His Holiness Dilgu Khyentse Dorje Chang, the life force of 8 great chariots of spiritual accomplishment. I'm extremely glad that Shechen Rabjam Rinpoche agreed to visit this place with full affection and kindness. Guru Rinpoche blessed the ground of Tibet by stepping on it. Likewise, today, Rinpoche consecrated the whole Namchak retreat by his precious presence. I feel it's impossible to estimate your compassion in words towards us. It says even a small flower is worth offering. With full homage, I would like to present an offering of $1,600 and a stainless white scarf in front of Shechen Rabjam Rinpoche, $1,000 to Tuku Sangak Rinpoche, $600 to Ken Rinpoche Ngawangele Namchak, $600 to Ken Rinpoche Jume Atsultim, $300 to Lopen Jingme, $100 to Dorlop Lungrik Nyima, $300 to Khenpo Namchak, $300 to Khenpo Urjen Wangchu, $600 to Jesma Jamyang Palmo, $300 to Lopen Chonyi Sangmu, $600 to Lama Sangak Somo, and $100 for each monk and lama, and make a supplication that war, conflicts, demerit actions may cease and peace prevail on earth. May all my students' wishes get fulfilled and obstructions be dispelled. May Buddhism and particularly Namchak lineage may stay forever for the benefit of beings. Dharma holder, His Holiness Dalai Lama, His Holiness Rabjam Rinpoche, our Master Gochen Choktul Sangha Khyentse Rinpoche, and all the Buddhist masters may live long. Thank you so much.
Casket of Blessing, page 21. Chazi Wadang Chujin Shamban Dang Chezo Yerang Guanjin Solwa Yin Gyawa Zhongzen Dangi Damjin Dangi Jiangjun Jirang On Ben Zrambu Mi A Hon Shi Yongzun Dangba Wanjin Sergi Sa Shi On Ben Zaringi A Chinjare Koryogi Korwe Weso Honle Ri Jabo Re Ra Shara Le Bambo Loen Zambole No Balan John Dominion Lundan Luma Ngayam Da Ngayam Shin Yoden Da Dominion Da Dominion Gida Rinpoche Reo Basam Gishin Dejewe Ba Mamembe Londo Kolo Rinpoche Norbo Zunmo Rinpoche Lumbo Rinpoche Lambo Rinpoche Danjo Rinpoche Mambe Rinpoche Tere Chembe Bomba Gewa Ma Tenwa Ma Lo Ma Gara Ma Medo Dombe Ma Naze Nye Ma Da Wa Rinpoche Do Chole Nambran Jeve Jem Zen Hada Mim Pensum Zoba Mazawa Memba Deni Chabda Pal Deme Gombo Da Ere Majibe Sume Palde Lama Dambe Dune Zabje Chigi Kache Zamo Shive Yendu Bulwara Gi Tunje Dove Dundun Shene Jingi Lam Doz Saji Pejin Mendo Dari Rab Linji Nyende Sanji Jindo Mende Pulwai Jogen Namda Shin La Shun Bara Sho Yindam Guru Renamen Kamnir Da Ya Mi Page 33 Gu Min Juro Doron Jin Den Lai Shu Zo Su Soi Min Gai Cai Yan Dan Bu Son Du Zu Tu Mi Yo Gan Dai Chen Bu Shu Zu Zu Den Chen Doro Xie Ngo Wen Co Xie Su Page 81 Yin Zan Bei Me Rin Lun Zong Ba Je Den Bei Nian Ma Zong Me Ram Jiang Ba Shen Dun Chun Ge Sen Ge Dan Sang Zun Doron Jie Gam Zun Den Juron Ji Gun Zan Bei Me Rin Lun Zong Ba Je Den Bei Nian Ma Zong Me Ram Jiang Ba Shen Dun Chun Singen Dan Den Jo Sang Zun Doron Jie Gam Zun Den Juron Ji Gun Zan Bei Me Rin Lun Zong Ba Dembe Nima Tome Ram Jam Ba Shen Dun Chun Ge Ge Sang Zun Doron Ji Gam Zun Den Juron Ji Gun Zan Bei Me Rin Lun Zong Ba Ji Dembe Nima Tome Ram Shen Dun Jun Ge Sing Ge Dan Den Jo San Zon Dor Je Gam Zon Den Jun Ji Gun Zon Be Me Rin Lo Zon Ba Je Den Be Nye Ma Zon Me Ram Jam Shen Dun Jun Ge Sing Ge Dan Den Jo San Zon Dor Je Den Jun Ji Gun Zon Be Me Rin Lo Zon Ba Tembe Nima Tome Ram Jamba Shendo Chinge Singe Dande Sanson Dorje Kamzo Denjo Ji Dorje Lombe Sanje Ben Dezon Jolan Janze Lon Chozon Tembe Jin Nime Yenge Jozon Je Ngonjuro Yenge Namde Ben Dambe Jemba Ngeje male shambrange jonjo gorzon dambe je manjang chelan je rang dambe taje tim zobe janjo simge do deje janjo semba la gyoba sumjre lebe lo teram dambe Dude janjo chembo ngo. Again back to page 21. Om benzra bumi aho shi yonzun damba wanje zenge sa shi om benza renge aho chin jari kuryonge ngorwe wezo hoi rin jabo ri rai shara de bambu lo zambu le no John Ming Lun Da Lun Bai Ngayam Da Ngayam Zhe Yun Den Da Lam Jo Do Da Ming Yen Da Da Ming Yen Ge Rinpo Je Rivo Pasam Ge Shen Dun Je Wen Bai Ma Min Be Lun Do Kolo Rinpo Je Norbo Rinpo Je Zhen No Rinpo Lembo Rinpoche, Lambo Rinpoche, Danjo Rinpoche, Mabe Rinpoche, Tere Jembe Pomba Ngemba, Ma Lo Ma Ngara Ma Mendo Ma Dobe Ma Nase Ma Dija, Nima Ndawa Rinpoche. Nambaranje jem zen hadami penjura pensum zoba mazanwa memba denye chabda bel deme gombo da ere manjin be summe palden lama dambe dune sabji chigi gati samo legbra tobe gatin taragi yondo mikde bulwara gi tunje dove dundu Shene jenge lam do sa jin ben jin jo shen men do da re la ne jen yen de jen ban de san je shen do Nam da shin la je bra sho idam guru ran na mandala kam ne ya ta ya me ko men jro dor jen den la sho zo se so men ga san yan dam bo son do so Tu mi yo kandai chenpo shu su solo. De chen dora je ngo wo zo je su. Page 81. O gen zan be me rin lo zo ban je den be nye ma zo me ram jam. Shen do jing ge sing ge dan den jo san zo dor je. Den juro je gun zan be me rin lo zo ban je den be nye ma zo. Ram jam ba shen do jing ge sing ge dan den jo san zo dor je. Tenjurun ji kun san be me rin lun zong ba je tembe ni ma tsum me ram jam ba shen dun chun ge sin dan den jo san sum dor je gam zun tenjurun ji kun san be me rin lun zong ba tembe ni ma tsum me ram jam ba shen dun chun ge sin ge Samsung Doranji Kamsun Ten Churanji Omsun Ten Galwan Choya Yeshin Chumin Jime Limbe Yanzi Ramdum Bangojin Gendu Sangan Ten Kunzen Danden Zende Ramge Sho Omsun Ten Chendara Sundaran Dombe Shinzala Nam Nyungu lendun she sawa hangi genzo demin be nyende tembe mero shendum ge chambra zinze gande nyamen je galban lamjen tinlen geme yejen do tende pendengen Baranjo Laman Gungam Sanwara Solwa De Chondo Kunze Rinwara Solwa Tinlen Darajin Gambara Solwa De Laman Dan Dewa Mem Jingin Lo.
Back to Rigzin Deepa book, page 57, page 56 in the middle, the dedication, white book. Page 56 in the middle, the dedication.
In the Zoy Zan Ben Gen Zan Gen I'm Gen De Men Juro Moy Da Zoy De Barai Jen Bai Nai Som Boy Jin San Je Joy De Zom Zan Ben Gen Zan Gen Nam gen de me juro ngo da zo de bara jem ba na som bo jin san je jo de zom san ben gen zan gen nam gen de me juro ngo Da zoin dim barai jem bai na som bun san ji sho om ye dharma hen do damba wa hen ken dan dan gan do haya wa den de ken za yuen ne ron Ewa mande maha sharma na ye so ha Sang ma zam den den ge je 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 ve da je sho se zen gen be da je sho na wa wan de da je sho lon den zan je da je sho na xian lang gui chan de ra dan dan den jiang a sun tai den do wen se chu fu jia le san te da xin
Back to Casket of Blessing, page 85, the Red Book.
Lama yendam lazo gongso se dendere zunben dunben gewan dan te som sanda yenben gewan domde lame janjo chenboro ngo dene janjo nyembo chinge bara rezan lozen memba da nyinje cheje la man lan gyun den pal den don je te la nyene wang ye men je dam ze dom bra de rem nye lam la nyen don thar je ne ka wa me ring go ban de ngon do nam nyen de la dom bra Jernon jum den da we kolon zon damba tam jen jen de ngan gen da sem gen jo wa de jen don de men bara ngen joro jo nyam ja ton de ma ba ne zon da chen na san wa er men ton be ga ga shara ran quân gió lo ya zo yan zo don do se je nyam juro je te le jembo gon da shin gam dam zi jembo ba la zen ma da cham de le jembo ren do dem zo ba jembo jun go nyen juro jo je ba sum ge jen la nyang la Jam da we san lan sem lan zo tin le nam je hingim mon da men ben do wa jo shin do den ben ko le long de kan do nam ge bo jen jong wa dan che jong so me ba je gun ze ne ye la men ba da da dum Jalwe denpa darashin genpa da tenzen namge shenpen dengen do malen gengwe penzo danda yechen jon jo jen gengro chamda dorje lomben dan dorje chenjam denpa jamzo Minden dambe dorje rinjenge kalzam wanjro lamge nande sho selenye deljro ngenge len dena shemen joma melam da jumde bala yeje dem tunmo lamge yende dajin jo lamge zawa chamdo taro je shenbe semge sadan jam Ranje namda jinje minje be denye lendo deje jeja bombe wange ponga langro da sawe wange zalon Sumbe lamge lenge be je shimbe denge wezen zombra nazi shirshin gerem taro jin zalon tele ome yanzo Yeje jembe chenge zenzarange lamje tarje rende dorje lamdara sumbe chenlenze sarje jezen zemba samembe tale dendan dola jebe ganja yenje bene joje weze chembura janjo Ganden Jemben Jumden Dowai Gonga Lendo Gonzan Jemba Joy Gonzan Nanda Benjo Menjen Dan Dinjen Zawe Lamai Jowen Dendo Menlam Gandam Ba Dendan Dam Dendren Dum Juroinje Sanje Demba Chingi Demba Dan Gendin Demba Genjoin Jozon Zazon Bawen Kandon Dan Yendam Chezon Demben Denzin Dendan Dum Juroinje Sanje Gozon Nyembe Jenlam Dan Chingi Mingro Dembe Jindra Melan Davjin Dom Joy Jin Kabra Chingi Rin Lo Denza Jin Dina Chedanzi Beljuro Jin Mindin Bardo Jin Ben Minzin Damba Sajin Yon La Cham Joy Jin Chiritubdin Yeri Nemba Dan Gishamara Jin Zimbaye Jebe Merin Long Shogundu Darjin Jin Join Jin Zanju Lama Chozoy Yendam Kandu Jizoy Dendu Jin Laim Ge Soin Gen Doran Nimberin Lunje Chezin Gwenin Darajin Jemban Minden Ben Tsewai Gwende La Shijin Dajin Dumbai Dan Gombai Namdai Gandai Timbai Manroi Lamgin Gewai Jindun Be Samderen Namjan Doranji Demban Darajin Yurin Banjo Nanda Rizom Hanga Chungwe Nga Kunda Yeshi Rolba Jam Sabzan Nimjuro Chimbe Nyamlen La Yerme Tugi Tin Proji Sho Gewa Kundu Yanda Lama Dan Dalme Chigi Pala Lonji Jin Sada Palden Lame Gomba Nyondo Sho Om Benzara Sado Samaya
무슨 남탈 현재는 무슨 남탈 현재는 무슨 남탈
Are we on? I just want to thank everyone for such a wonderful day. Just been a real blessing for us to be here together at the Bodhi House with His Holiness Rabjam Rinpoche and everyone else. We're going to move into dinner now, and we'd like to ask everyone to go down to grab your food. And we're a little bit late on the timeline, so if we could have people who are going to be riding in the buses go into the line first after we serve the lamas, and then we'll get those folks out on the buses about 6:15. So again, just want to give my gratitude for a wonderful day, blessed day, and safe travels to everyone. And wonderful to see you all. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your help. Thanks. Thank you for today. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your evening or your day.